The international community has called on Israel to abandon its neutrality and take a stand against Russia. So far, Israel has refused to send arms to Ukraine or impose sanctions on Russia. But Ambassador Dennis Ross, a former U.S. envoy to the Middle East, believes Israel has managed to strike a balance.
Well, the Israelis have adopted a position that is balanced. By that I mean, you see the foreign minister has adopted a position that is quite critical of what the Russians are doing, while the prime minister has adopted a position that is more careful, more nuanced. Israel is not the one that invited the Russians to create a military position on their border, so they have to contend with that.
Officials and experts came together at the Jewish People Policy Institute in Jerusalem to discuss what position the Israeli government should take in the war. Israel has sent tons of humanitarian aid to Ukraine and even opened up a field hospital there. But some are critical that it hasn't gone far enough.
Regarding refugees, Israel is unfortunately not very far from Switzerland and the way it behaved during World War II. The door is open for Jews whose Judaism is not in doubt under the law of return. For those who are not Jewish, Israel has created difficulties, and up until now has not opened its doors to all asylum seekers. Asylum does not mean granting citizenship, a passport, an Israeli ID card, or the right to run for Knesset. Is it hard to open the doors? In my eyes, it's a disgrace.
One of the reasons Israel is treading lightly is because of Russia's presence in Syria and military coordination with the IDF. Israel has repeatedly carried out strikes against Iranian targets there.
And I think the Israeli government is basically choosing not to make too much noise and just to go in the rain without being wet. I feel personally that we can do much more for the Ukrainian people. I think it's our obligation as a Jewish state.
This week, Ukraine's ambassador to Israel told reporters that Kyiv is frustrated by Israel's refusal to give them the Iron Dome missile defense system. Israeli military experts argued that that would be a bad idea.
To supply the Iron Dome means that you have to supply it with an Israeli battery of soldiers. Has any other country in the world put their soldiers on the ground in the Ukraine? It isn't just the Iron Dome. It's a very sophisticated system that takes 12 to 18 months to train on.
The war between Ukraine and Russia has dragged on for over 100 days now. As casualties mount and international pressure ramps up, like it or not, Israel may be pushed off the fence. From Jerusalem, Maya Margit reporting for the Media Line.